Hello and welcome to Crowforest the podcast. So last time I finished up reading the pre-production section of my book, so today I will start on the first of the production sections. Most films, at least as far as I'm aware, do tend to follow a strict pre-production, production, post-production regimen, but since I'm doing everything myself and I can do it however I want, I prefer to space out the production a bit and do editing as soon as I get the footage. So, the way that I have my book organized after the initial pre-production section, I flip back and forth. It goes production, post-production, production, post-production, and so on like that, with each production trip, generating footage, then I'll go home, edit the footage, and then do more production trips, and so on like that. So this is the first of the production sections, so I will go ahead and start on that. Production. I arrived at my sister's house a couple of days before we started filming, so that I would have time to do a few last-minute things to get ready. When I was unpacking my stuff, I noticed that the miniature of the house had gotten a little broken, so I fixed it and reinforced the bottom, with cardboard cut to fit and glued on. I got some B-roll shots of the miniature up in the attic, as well as some stop-motion shots of the tiny wax figure walking around the miniature. I also got some B-roll of the shower with the dinosaur curtain, including turning the water on, opening the curtain to find the empty shower, and getting the creepy silhouette shot of the creepy figure standing in the shower. That last shot was achieved by hanging a pair of footy pajamas on the inside of the shower curtain and putting a light behind it in the tub. That way, when I turned off the bathroom light, the shower light was the only light source, and it made a creepy glow around the even creepier empty space left in the middle. I got a little bit more B-roll, focusing on the decorations on the wall and experimenting with a few lighting effects. Then I put together a shot list for us to refer to the next day so that we would have a guide for what to film. And, the first proper day of production, and, from here on out, I have it labeled with the dates that it occurred, because now it's specific days of doing, either filming or editing, rather than just kind of the more general pre-production work that was just kind of taking place over a longer time, and there wasn't really anything particularly noteworthy on any given day to focus on. So now I'm getting more into the details and focusing on the specific day. So June 25, 2022. Today was the first official day of production. After doing a table reading of the entire script, we filmed the opening shot with the upside-down shot of the cross on the wall, panning back to reveal Maureen walking in the still upside-down shot, and then the camera flipping over to the right way up as Maureen walks by it. That was a pretty tricky shot to get, and it involved oral communication, so I knew that I would have to mute the audio in post and replace it. But we already knew basically what we wanted the shot to look like after having done a test shot before. The test shot was actually the first thing we filmed back when we first came up with the concept for the movie, and seeing the test shot was what really sealed the deal that we needed to do this movie in the first place. The opening shot ended in the kitchen after the camera had been put the right way up, and it featured Maureen washing her hands in the sink and proceeding to put together dinner. But part of the shot was a little blurry, so I wanted to repeat the action from another angle. And I got another angle of Maureen washing her hands, and then stepping over to the fridge to prepare dinner. Then I put the camera inside the fridge for a cool shot of Maureen opening the fridge from the inside. And finally, I got a shot of Maureen picking up her stuff and walking over to the table to eat. The next thing we filmed was the scene of Maureen playing for Elise on her keyboard. This scene was not actually in the script, but I thought that it would add a lot to the production. If it doesn't work, I can always cut it later in post, in which case you probably don't know what I'm talking about. After that, we headed up to the attic to do the initial finding the miniature in the attic sequence. It was a very tight squeeze in the attic, which made filming rather awkward, but we got it done. What we ended up having to do was for me to film from the ground as Maureen climbed the ladder, and then she had to climb back down so that I could climb up the ladder and get into the attic and film the action of her climbing up again from the inside. Maureen ended up ad-libbing a few lines that weren't in the script, but they sounded really good, and I plan to use them at least in the trailer, but probably in the movie as well. Since the majority of this movie is just her on her own, I didn't really write a lot of dialogue for this movie, so she did end up ad-libbing quite a bit of dialogue just talking to herself, so I think that adds a lot to the production. Once we finished with the attic segment, Maureen climbs back down the ladder, and I got a quick pan-around shot of the miniature with my endoscopic camera for the opening credits sequence. Then I climbed back down the ladder so that Maureen could climb back up to the top to get the miniature. I filmed her as she climbed back down the ladder holding the miniature, and then followed her into the house and to the table. But when we got to the table, we had forgotten to clear away the dishes from the previous scene. But that didn't matter. All I had to do was switch from the handheld camera following her to a stationary tripod camera on the far side of the table. That way the last bit of action would be repeated, so I would have some cutting options. I decided that the scene would be more visually striking if there was something on the table to be swept aside when she set the miniature down on the table. And since I have miniature playing cards that I would be able to use later, I decided to have Maureen set up a game of solitaire with standard playing cards. When Maureen steps up to the table with the miniature, she sweeps aside the playing cards in a dramatic motion. I got the action from 3 different angles. I had my primary camera on a tripod on the far side of the table, and I had my phone balanced on the chandelier above the table, and I had a second phone on the floor looking up and recording in slow motion to capture the cards as they flew off the table. Then I picked up the phone on the floor and switched it to standard frame rate and got handheld footage of Maureen walking around the table and examining the miniature, while the 2 other cameras continued to record from their respective angles. Once we were done with that, I got one final shot panning over the miniature, this time zooming in on a tiny wax figure sitting at the miniature table. Then I got some more endoscope footage, now with the table backgrounds. And finally, we commemorated the end of our first day of filming by pouring glasses of Powerade from my Crowforest Productions decanter into Crow glasses and doing a toast. Maureen had gotten me the set of decanter and Crow glasses for Christmas for this very occasion, and doing this certainly made the production feel official. Okay, that is all for today, so, join us next week as we continue with the production with June 6th of 2022. Hope to see you then.